So just a quick overview on the videos that I've been doing. We have been doing videos on our yard just to show updates that we can see year to year, the progress of the yard. And we try to do them every 2 or 3 weeks in the growing season so we can compare them to different weather year to year and see where things are doing well or not doing well, or what we should move, not move, get rid of. And there's been a lot of interest in general. It's just about certain plants that we have that I focus in on. But today I just wanted to do, the general walk around and not anything specific except for one plant that we are planning to take out. It is the Heritage River Birch that we will get to up front, and I'll talk about the reasons for that when we get to it. And in other videos going forward too, I'll focus in on more specific plants, talk about different things in different areas of the yard, but this time I really just want to get a good overview of things before we get to the river birch. And we found it's been a really good method to take into what we have as we go, because sometimes you think things are doing well at certain times or blooming at certain times, and you look at a video that's dated and you can really tell where you are. This one in particular is a canna. I can't remember the exact name of this one, but it's highly variegated. We got one of these plants last year, and then just on a whim we dug up the bulbs from it, from one plant. It's really spectacular. We dug up the bulbs from one plant, and we've gotten, I think, 8 individual cannas out of it this year that we planted around the yard, and we had enough to give away. That's the Ruby Falls Redbud, which we planted a couple of years ago. That has done really well. That's our Japanese umbrella pine, which we got when it was about 2 feet tall. Now it's about 8 feet tall after 4 or 5 years. Really spectacular. Call it an umbrella pine because of the way the needles splay out like the structure of an umbrella. I know I'm talking too much now. Here's a Himalayan variegated pine, and you can see it is really spectacular. It comes out in the spring, and then it gets more variegated as the summer goes on, and when you get a breezy period like this it is today, see how that variegation comes right out from the base of the needles. It's taken maybe 10 years for this to get this big. It's maybe 10 feet tall at best. It's a double flower Rose of Sharon. I think that is 12 years old actually. We moved it from another house. Now this is what's called a Little King River Birch. So it has the same characteristics as a larger birch that has the tan colored bark that starts to peel. This one is fairly small, so it's just starting to peel a little bit. This one max is supposed to get around 10 or 12 feet, which is different than most other river birches, like a heritage river birch, the Petula nigra. And we put this one here because we wanted to fill in this space a little more quickly to give us a background for our garden from the house, from the view from the house. So that's been in there 2 years, I think. It grows fairly slow, but then maxes out at a reasonable height. We've been trying to do just trees, Japanese maples, evergreens, dogwood type trees, small things like thundercloud plums, things that don't get too large where there's a danger of a tree ever falling over. We have a lot of windy days here on the Cape, and you can get tropical storms or things like that being out close to the ocean, where larger trees can get taken down and the smaller trees let a lot more sun in. And you know, those varieties are a lot more specimen-like, a lot of the smaller trees, which have a lot more seasonal changes, and we tend to like that a little better than the big trees. We have big trees all around that give us a great background for things. An example of a good ornamental is this Japanese maple. It's a Hub's red willow, which is like it's called a linear lobum, meaning it has leaves like a bamboo tree. So it's a red Japanese maple. It'll get 10 feet tall and 8 feet high over 15 years. But it adds great color and very different leaf structure, which are things that we're always looking for. It's our limelight hydrangea. It's the full size one that comes out in July. Stays out, turning more pink and red as the season goes on through September, October. This is our flamethrower redbud. So has kind of the same structure as the Merlot red, the Weeping Ruby Falls earlier on in the video, but it has a great variation in color. It's actually not as colorful as it was in June, July. As we're getting into toward the middle of August, it starts to go more chartreuse with the new leaves being red, but still spectacular. And it's what they call a semi-weeping. It's supposed to be a little more upright, but it's ended up being, because it's a brand new plant, they didn't know, I think, exactly how it was going to grow. This is our hardy hibiscus. It's supposed to grow to 4 or 5 feet. It's about a little more than 6 feet right now, which is great. So this is our heritage river birch, which I was talking about earlier in the video. It's been in the ground not even 3.5 years, and it's all of about almost 20 feet tall now. And it has grown much faster than we imagined. The issue with it is we already moved it once, and after 1 year just trying to move it, the roots, it was so well rooted, it was so difficult to take out and move. And now 2 years later, it has grown probably more than 6 feet in 2 years in height, but it's already about 15 feet wide. And we've tried everything to try to cut lower branches to give plants that are underneath it some space, and every time we cut them, new branches, or the branches even above, weep down further and reach out further, and we didn't think that it would grow this fast. It's spectacular with the bark. It is really cool. It takes 2 years maybe for the bark really to get going. And it is also so well rooted on the surface that it starts to take the water away from all the other plants, especially the perennials around it. Well, they'll dry out really quickly, which is an issue. I think it's done really well because we use leaf mulch. We grind up our own leaves and from our house and our neighbors' houses to use as leaf mulch. That's what we use for everything. And then we use bark chippings, tree chippings from a local tree service to make our pathways. And I think even though the sand is mostly what we have on the Cape here, it's pure sand out where we are, that we've added so much natural content to the soil that as it breaks down, it makes it really favorable for a plant like the river birch to grow really quickly. So, and the other issue is, like I said, was when we originally planted after 1 year, it was very difficult to move because it was so well rooted in. And even at the size that it is now, it would be impossible to dig out and even give to a neighbor because the roots are just so large and the plant is so big and situated where it is. We could not pull it out and rehome it to a neighbor, which is really unfortunate. We're probably going to make use of all the limbs and the bark to do things around the yard. But we're going to replace it with an evergreen that's on the way because we're looking for a lot more evergreen winter seasonal interest. And as we've gone more and more with things, we kind of find things that we like better than some of the things we put in previously. So we're going to go with that. It is a Sanders Blue Deodoro cedar we're going to put in, which has a similar blue to the baby blue spruce that we have right in the center of the video there. It's going to grow taller and be a little more wispy, so it will fill in the space and we'll get to a decent height of probably 20 feet, but be much more narrow so it won't overgrow some of the things like the Japanese maples and other perennials that we have around this tree now. So it's unfortunate because it is really beautiful and fills in the space, and it was a gift from my wife for Christmas a couple of years ago, but it's fast becoming unmanageable, and with the winds we have down here and with the root situation, it just seems as if it would be unmanageable in a few years and really be in danger of just getting too big, shading out a lot of things that we don't want shaded out, and also in danger of coming down in a windstorm. We replaced 3 oak trees that were in that spot that became diseased and cracked several years ago, and the multi-trunk of the birch really filled in that role there. But at least I'm thinking better of it now to probably mitigate future problems by removing it. So there's another one of the cannas. This is the baby blue spruce too, which is supposed to stay relatively narrow at maybe 15 feet, but grow, 25 feet tall. So this is why this is in this position. Just a great color, and it holds it all season long. This is the ruby slippers oak leaf hydrangea, which we've really come to love. Stays less than 4 feet, spreads out 5 or 6. Comes out white in June and then turns to this ruby kind of cherry colored late in the season, and the leaves will turn maroon and red, bright red, kind of a mix in the fall. So it's a 3-season plant. And again, I will do shorter videos on some of the other trees that we have and shrubs that we have. For being almost into mid-August, things have just been spectacular. We've had great rains all the way through the majority of July, usually early in July. The rains stop, but we've had it pretty good, so even though it's a little dry now, everything is so deeply watered underneath that we just have to water a little bit now to keep things going. But the key for a lot of things that we get too is to have a lot of late summer variety in the leaves, a lot of late summer variety in the blooms on things like hydrangeas, so that it's not just a big spring flush of things, that we have things going all the way through October. And it's taken several years to really manipulate things and move things and find new things and try new things and weed things out. Things that we thought we'd love at first, that over time, even though we do a lot of research and talk to people about things, that you realize after a while you don't love so much. And you can pass them to someone else who doesn't have as many things, and they can enjoy them. All right, that's it.